Hello, good morning. How are you doing? Can you hear me okay? Can you put in the chat if you hear me okay? Can you give me a thumbs up on the chat? Yeah? Cool. Awesome. My name is Sodok Cervantes. For those of you who don't know me, I am the managing director here at Lingap, and it is my pleasure to welcome you here from all parts of the world that you're in right now. We really appreciate you. I know you are in China, Japan, remote parts, in Europe, America, Canada, Hawaii. I know you are in all parts of the world, and I just want to mention that it is a pleasure and an honor to have you here with us because you're going to experience something that not a lot of people do. You are going to experience pitches, not just any pitches, real pitches. Now, if you're not familiar with Lingap, Lingap is a startup incubator. And you might be wondering, well, how is it different from an adult startup incubator to a teenager startup incubator? And the truth is, not much, because we here at Lingap, we are the protocol for the real world to these students. We take these students and then we help them launch real products with real customers and real money into the world. And that is the key difference between a high school project and a real company, the customers, the frustration that you have when launching something into the real world. If you've done that yourself, you know what I'm talking about. You won't see here business plan competitions, mock companies, simulations, the usual things that we tend to think of when we hear that a teenager is launching a new thing, oh, it's like a lemonade stand, right? Or like a website selling sneakers, maybe to their friends. Here we have business to consumer companies, business to business companies with real customers, real data. Everything that you're about to see here is real. Everything, everything that you're about to see here is real. These teens are doing not just something amazing, but something that a lot of adults out there have not done yet and will probably never do. And that's the real power of Lingap, to turn these teenagers into resilient adults, into strong adults, into people that have experienced growth in such a short amount of time. The next time that life throws a punch at our students, they can punch back. Now, let me show you a little bit about Lingap. Lingap every year receives over 2,000 applications from 20 plus countries all over the world, all over. It's a around the world. Now, these applications do not only represent applications and data, they represent um, they represent 2,000 ideas, 2,000 startups, 2,000 teenagers, but also 2,000 dreams. And we've been helping these kids build their dreams since 2015. In 2015, we embarked on an adventure with 40 students from all over the world, and it was such a great joy to see them do like live things. In 2016, the journey continued, 2017, 2018, and 2019. Now, when the pandemic hit, we were not ready. No one was. And yet, we found a way to still build the dreams of these teenagers online, remotely, like you're watching right now. 2021, we did the same. 2020, it worked so well that we did it twice, 2 times on 2022. And then last year online. Last year was the first time that we went to San Francisco. It was so exciting. And then now is the turn for the cohort of 2024 to leave their mark. Now, to do that, to start having an impact in the world, they're going to have their first punch of reality. And it will come in the form of 3 amazing judges. And I'm really proud to have them here with us. Now, the first judge is Kristen. Kristen Chen is the former CEO of TopGG. Now, if you are old like me, you might not be familiar with Discord, but Discord is really the only place where people are forming communities online right now. And TopGG is at the center of discovery for that platform. And Kristen was the CEO of literally the largest search and discovery platform for Discord. Now, she's also the former chief product officer at MetaTheory and director of program management at SoundCloud. And she has held prior management roles at Pinterest, Twitch, and LinkedIn. Thank you very much, Christine, for being here. Now we have Evan as well. Now, Evan is the co-founder and CEO of Edge. And Edge is an AI patent assistant startup. Now, one thing that is important to mention is that Edge is part of Y Combinator. Do you know Y Combinator? Y Combinator is the largest and best startup accelerator in the world. A lot of companies that you use every day have come out of Y Combinator. Dropbox, Airbnb, Twitch, just to mention a few. And just getting in there is an amazing feat on its own. And Evan is there with his co-founders and Edge. Now, he's also the founder of Jovano, a venture capital firm with multiple unicorn investments and successful exits. If you're not familiar with the term unicorn, we call unicorn in the tech industry a company that has reached a valuation of $1 billion. And for a venture capital firm to have one is amazing, but to have multiple, well, it's just outstanding. Now, he's previously the co-founder of Mighty Mug. Do you have a Mighty Mug at home, maybe? You know those tilt-resistant mugs? Well, we have Evan to thank for that. He's sold millions of those over 24 countries. He's also part of the Forbes 30 Under 30 group, and he comes from the University of Chicago, UC Berkeley, all these top institutions. Thank you very much, Evan, for being here. And we have Lauren. And Lauren is the lead product designer at Scale AI. Now, AI is all of us, right? And we go to ChatGPT and to Claude and to all of these AI services, and they just work like magic, right? Well, Scale AI is really part of the backbone of the entire industry. And Lauren is there as a lead product designer, helping bring the AI industry forward. Now, she's the former product designer at Salesforce and IBM, and she has held prior research roles at LinkedIn, YouGov, and Stanford. So, you know, we have like top people here. And if can I ask the judges to come on stage with me, please? You can press the webinar button that is at the bottom of your screen. I really want to thank the judges for being here, because it's not easy to leave everything that you're doing and being here for with the kids for 2 hours, you know, for 1 hour and a half, the duration of this event. Yeah, so judges, there's a button down below in your Zoom that says webinar. If you can join, please. Pablo, if you can tell them if they can't hear me, that would be amazing. So Evan, one of the judges, he put it very amazingly put last year. Now, Evan said to our students, we're going to give you harsh feedback, and we're going to ask you tough questions, and we're going to ask you questions that we would ask adults. But that's not a punishment. That's your reward for all the work that you have done so far. And I loved how Evan put it, because he's so right. A lot of people do not tell it like it is, especially to teenagers, right? We form this bubble around them, and then we expect them to keep that bubble when they're off to life, like college, jobs. And this is going to be the first punch of reality for our students, the first time they will start breaking that bubble, okay? And I'm really happy that Evan, Christine, and Lauren are here. So thank you very much, judges. And let's hear the first team, okay? So first team, get ready and start sharing your screen when ready.
Hi, my name is Danya.
And I'm Anthony. Today, we'll be talking about our inventory management platform, StockSort. Even though this might seem boring to you, for Barbara here, one of our co-founders' parents It's a task that she has to perform daily, juggling owning a small healthcare business while simultaneously being a loving mother to her 2 children. Barbara is constantly trying to do her best to be the greatest mother she can be, while keeping her customers happy. But the biggest struggle Barbara faces in her small business is inventory management. Her solution? Spreadsheets. Just look at the spreadsheet that she has to use daily. This time-consuming method has caused her so much trouble, to the point where she delivered a medicine that she no longer had in stock. Although this issue seems small, this caused her to lose over 10 customers in the past year alone. Unfortunately, though, Barbara isn't alone. About 34% of businesses experience the same struggle with inventory management that she does.
Luckily for Barbara and many others, we have a solution to this problem. That's where StockSort comes in. StockSort helps people like Barbara change from spending 90% of their time doing the tedious work for their business to spending that same amount of time doing the enjoyable work that they love while leaving the rest to us. Now we'll show you how StockSort works. On the dashboard, we have AI-powered feedback with graphs showing product inventory and analytics, as well as a list of items that are about to sell out soon. Then we have a transactions dashboard detailing every item bought and sold for inventory records. We also have an inventory dashboard displaying quantity, price, and an input area for adding new items into the system. You can use all these features by purchasing StockSort. Our business model is that the basic StockSort plan costs $39.95 per month. So far, in the past few days, we've already achieved our first 2 sales, putting us with a total revenue of around $80. Remember Barbara? She has greatly benefited from this sale as she's been able to keep all of her customers happy now that she has detailed data on what inventory she has and doesn't have. This saves her so much time that she's now been able to spend having fun with her family.
Now, we weren't the first people to address this problem. Software such as Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel, Clover, QuickBooks, and NetSuite are all also doing their best to solve it. But StockSort is the only product out of all of these platforms that is both quick and efficient as well as affordable. Let's take a look at our market. The first type of small business that we aim to target is family-owned stores in Texas, as we feel that they would benefit the most with our product. Out of the serviceable attainable market for such businesses in Texas, which is around 962,000, we plan to target about 1% of them. This would be about 9,600 small businesses who manage inventory, or around $384,000 in monthly revenue alone. Now, here's our future roadmap for our company. By August of 2024, we want to create a mobile app to allow hundreds of thousands of people, like Barbara, to manage their inventory, whether it be at a football game or on a run. By September 2024, we hope to add an auto restock feature and a barcode scanner to easily import items. Lastly, by October of 2024, we're planning on launching a marketing campaign to advertise our platform throughout entire social media. Now, in order to ensure that StockSort is successful, we're seeking an investment of $180,000, and this is how the money will split up. $60,000 will go towards our marketing, $70,000 toward the engineering of our product, $40,000 to help keep our website running smoothly, and the last $10,000 towards miscellaneous costs as our company continues to grow, such as legal fees.
We are the perfect team to create an inventory management product because we have strong developers who have a lot of coding experience, creative designers, efficient marketers, and even co-founders who have been involved in family businesses experiencing this problem firsthand, which is why we know that StockSort can succeed. In conclusion, StockSort is a fast and easy inventory management platform for small businesses that aims to sell to at least 9,600 small family-owned businesses in the next few years, which is why we have our ask of $180,000 for this product. Thank you, and judges, let's help small business owners spend time on what they love.
So the question I have first is actually about your customers. So inventory management has been around for quite a while. One of the things that you didn't mention in your slides was the point of sale integrated inventory management systems like Toast and Square. They all have them. So I wonder, these people, these small business owners who are doing it, who are also the customers of those kinds of companies, why aren't they already paying for inventory management system? And what are you providing that these existing solutions that are directly integrated to payments aren't?
So, our main point is that we give recommendations, and we have a really good analysis of like the inventory and the sales in a nice graphical interface that's just really simple and intuitive to use. And since our target market is generally smaller businesses with like 1 or 2 people running the whole show, it's just much simpler for them to use.
But I mean, those guys are using payment processors. They're accepting credit cards. So like they would be using Square. Why aren't they using the Square inventory system?
They're using from the data that we've gathered, what they're using is mainly the like pen and paper and like an Excel spreadsheet. So for the small business owners in my area and in like the area that we're marketing right now, Texas, that's what they tend to use. And this is like an up notch from there. And yeah. Did that answer your question, or did I?
I mean, you definitely answered my question about what they're doing. My question is, have you gotten a sense of why? So the reason why I'm asking this question is because whenever you have a market, like inventory management is one of the original applications of computers, like not just SaaS. And so whenever you have a segment that is not using an existing solution other than like Excel, I always get kind of nervous that maybe there's a reason they're not doing it, and therefore a reason that no one has penetrated it. And so then I wondered, do you know what it is? And have you actually made something that addresses that core reason, or are you just pursuing a negative selection effect where it's actually the bad set of customers?
Okay, so yesterday and like the entirety of like last week, I actually spent like a great deal of time walking around town and like asking like literally every business why they manage inventory the way they do. And a lot of the smaller businesses plainly just said that they use Excel because it's like simple and easy to use, and they don't want to buy some complicated jargon like Square or whatever. If that answers your point.
So you're basically saying they find the existing inventory management systems too complicated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And ours is like really simple and intuitive to use too, which is why we have a market over there. But of course, there's lots of room for growth and improvement, which is why we made the roadmap. And with our team, we'll be able to maneuver these challenges together.
So I have a follow-up question. It's a little bit related to Evan's, but right, it sounds like this is going to be a really big change for folks who are using pen and paper or basic Excel. So yes. I'm curious, how have you all thought of approaching that, right? They're transitioning from pen and paper Excel to an AI SaaS, I assume desktop first platform for now, and then potentially a mobile app in August.
So I don't know if it was very like visible in the demo for a long time, but we have a really easy CSV import feature, and in the future we want to add more import features, like for pen and paper, like you just take a picture of it and it just like runs a OpenCV on it and it just reads all the data off of it.
And one thing I wonder is, you mentioned like AI recommendations, like, for someone who's running a small business, they probably have simpler inventory, smaller amounts, not as high volume. Where would that data even come from? And what AI could even make sense? Like, if you're saying, hey, what's your average inventory? I mean, you don't need AI. You just look at the historical average of how long it takes to sell something out, and then just, use a basic linear equation. Like, what AI is there here?
Well, that's not really a linear equation, I would say there. But I just want to clarify this. The reason we're using AI is because markets tend to change and sales tend to change too. And generally the way people perceive things tend to change too. And a lot of them are features that we don't really have in our MVP, which is why, as I said before, we're still like working on our product, because right now all we have is our MVP and we have a couple of sales. We really want to get at it, and we want to add more features. And we also have like the market analysis, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense, or did I avoid your question?
Well, I wouldn't say to avoid it. I would say, first of all, it's something you haven't built. Don't say That's one of the things you have in your pitch. Say it's part of your roadmap. But number two is I'm trying to understand what it is you even want to build. So like if you're, again, you have to consider when you have machine learning, what kind of data do you have? So when you have the math of machine learning, you actually have to have enough data to actually make it work. And actually one of the things that you do if you take like a machine learning course, which perhaps you'll do next year in high school or in college, you'll probably see a chart of, which method there is and how much data you need to make it work. And so I'm wondering for these small businesses where it's like, well, I sell 5 different kinds of ice cream as opposed to Whole Foods that sells 100 kinds of ice cream. And on top of that, I only have a certain number of customers a day, which is like 100 times less than Whole Foods, just to pick a random store. Most machine learning methods will not work. And it's not like these methods are changing so much. And it's not like you're charging so much that you can, necessarily have massive compute costs without actually affecting your operating margins. So I'm trying to understand what you even want to do.
Right.
Okay, we have time for one last question.
So when you say we don't have enough data and we don't have enough compute to manage all the data yet with our price, I want to mention one thing. This price is like a temporary starting point, and as our businesses grow and the companies we use grow too, we will modify the price accordingly. And as for the AI data that you're talking about, we can take we're taking data from other businesses as well, and that's like a direction that we can like look toward in a roadmap, and that will really help us too.
I'd like to follow up on that question. Like, how are you getting that training data? So how will you actually get the training data from the other businesses then, if they're not your customers?
So as we get more customers, we'll have more data, and
We can get the training data.
yes.
So if you don't have customers yet, then how do you have the training data? Or what's the strategy to train your model?
We have a lot of businesses using our software. We have a lot of training data, and we use the training data.
But you said there was 5 customers.
And you need to learn and grow. We get more customers, and as we get more customers, we get more data.
Okay, thank you very much.
By the way, I just want to say as a teachable moment here, one of the reasons we're asking some of these questions is, in the venture world, this is a small business play. Small businesses historically have the benefit of no customer concentration because no customer ends up really dominating your thing. But there's a lot of marketing expenses, which affects your operating margins, and there's limited pricing power. These guys will not pay. You can pay maybe more per transaction, but the aggregate amount you pay is much lower. So I'm skeptical that you would actually be able to increase your price past what you already have, especially given that there are bundled integrations with existing point of sale systems. So I would just think really hard about what can you actually use to justify that price and assume that you cannot raise it for a while.
Right. Of course,
we're out of time. Thank you, StockSword. Next team, get ready, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tiffany.
And my name's Liam.
We'd like to introduce Aluna to you. And to do so, you have to meet someone first. Say hello to anxiety, or as we like to call it, every teen student.
Students are always under loads of pressure. With strict deadlines, trouble understanding complex topics and explanations, and from that, tons of unanswered questions. No wonder these students are stressed.
What does this mean for the students? Well, studies show that 74% of students find homework stressful, with some students spending 3 times more than the healthy amount each night. It doesn't help that 72% of students are afraid to receive help.
But this is not the teacher's fault. Just like the students, teachers are also stressed out. Having a lot of class and curriculum planning, along with grading tests and homework, leaves way less time for these teachers to spend with their families. It's clear why they don't have time to help students with their questions.
What a mess. But what if we had a platform that can solve all these problems? Introducing Aluna, an all-in-one student communication platform that allows students to ask questions to your classmates quickly and comfortably. Our platform also saves teachers more time to get work done and to spend quality time with their family and friends.
So, our users land on a dashboard, which shows classes on the left and activity across all those classes on the right. Next, we have the Groups tab, showing you all the groups you are a part of. Clicking on our group, we can navigate to the Forum tab, which lets students collaborate under teacher-made topics. So why us? Because no other platform can do what we do. Eluna is a platform that promotes collaboration and active participation without the need for teachers to actively assign discussions, along with using the style of Q&A used by forum companies across the world. Our platform is also very efficient and clean, making it easier for students to collaborate while making students anonymous from each other to provide comfort and encourage asking questions.
The total market cap for our product comes down to around 85,000 global high schools and colleges, but we are prioritizing schools in the US, totaling to around 65,000. We want our product to reach 2% of the serviceable available market and focus on California, which totals to around 1.2 thousand schools. We're going to reach 10% of the California schools in the next 2 years, which amounts to 120. With an average of 80 teachers per school, our pricing plan covered later will target close to 10,000 teachers and around 100,000 free users. After California, we plan to expand to schools across the country and then across the globe.
Moving on to our team traction. Over the past week, our team has reached out to numerous teachers and managed to make a sale for a pre-order of our product before the next school year for $30. We are also in discussion with 13 teachers who have demonstrated interest in demoing and purchasing our product.
As for our business model, to help test our website, we invite teachers to create one class for free, which will make them fall in love with Eluna and help us partner with the schools they teach at. Beyond one class, we charge $35 per semester per teacher/school with options to accommodate trimester-long and quarter-long courses. The students will have free access to the website as long as they have a class code to join with. In order for this business model to reality, you need a team that remains close to the students that we want to serve, and that team is us. We are all outstanding students, and we have a very balanced team and a good mix of personalities. Each member of our team complements each other in our unique strengths and weaknesses. This blend of experience, passion, and team synergy will lead us to be the best team to launch this product.
And what will our team do in the future? By contacting teachers and offering them demos, along with reaching out to school boards, we plan to partner with 5 schools and their teachers before 2025. And this is what that may look like, where we initially try to build our user base with teachers demoing on free plans while using the user base to market our product to those school boards. And this will result in 5 school customers by September 2025. Now, Eluna needs around $140,000 to keep running next year, and here's where that money will go to. Since our entire business is selling our website, we want our product to be the best. So around 40% of that will go to developing our web app. We also want to make sure that advertising and being known throughout the Golden State is very important. So we want to spend 30% of our budget on that. Finally, we want to leave 30% to operating costs and subscriptions that Eluna needs to run.
Thank you, and let's save students stress.
And work teachers less.
So this talked a lot about the problem, but it didn't talk that much about the solution. To be honest, I don't know what your product does. Can you take 15 seconds to describe what you do?
Basically, it's a student communication platform that allows students to communicate with each other and help each other out instead of the teachers always answering the questions instead. And how it does that is through forums like you see with Quora and Reddit. So each student can ask the question, and then other students can answer the questions. And then there are different classes for each teacher. And how students join a class is by inputting a class code. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. So I guess what I would ask is, what actually makes it different? Because forums have existed for a very long time. The other thing that I'm curious about is, with education, this is one of the, again, like SMB, one of those categories with known problems, B to B to C being the known obvious problem. You're selling to teachers, but teachers don't necessarily care about what some of these problems the students are having. Why not sell directly to students? This is something that doesn't require the teacher's input. You're actually focused on the peer-to-peer advice. Like, why not try to get the students in one class, just start a forum to help each other, and then they'll naturally want to use it in their other classes.
Wait. Back. Okay, so basically our main selling point and sort of the why teachers should be involved in this platform is because our idea from the start was to have this sort of participation grade based on your activity on the platform. so students are more incentivized to use the platform. So that's why teacher input is required.
Yeah, that one doesn't make any sense to me because teachers are going to decide how to grade their class. They're not going to add a section because you're trying to sell that to them as part of their software. And besides, the main point is the learning, right? So I'm not saying necessarily teachers shouldn't be involved. What I'm saying is as a business model decision, given that it is known to be hard to get teachers to do things and they don't have the purchasing power, the school has the purchasing power, why not just sell directly to students? They can do things on their own.
So here's the thing. If we sell to students individually, in order for this to work, is for the entire class to be able to communicate to each other. So every student in that classroom has to be able to have paid for and have access to Luna. So if we sell to students individually, it can't guarantee that. And therefore, our platform may not work. And
that's true.
Yeah.
Like when I was in school, I formed study groups with portions of my class all the time, and I found it very helpful. Why do I need the whole class?
Okay, yeah. So if we sell to the schools or the teachers and we make access for the students free, we can probably guarantee that every single student in all the classes that the teachers have will be on the platform, which helps us with our another selling point that we have, which is making it quick for getting a response from the students. And also, our business model includes a class for free. So if we get a lot of teachers on this free plan where they can only do one class, which is probably not all the classes that they have, they can demo, they can give us feedback, but they can also help us market to the schools that they work at or the school boards. For example, private schools, they usually have their own school board. It's not a district, right? So if 5 teachers at that private school are using a product, then it's much easier to sell it to the school.
Yeah, I don't want to dominate this whole thing, but I do just want to ask a follow-up question here, which is, first of all, the school board, I get that you can have 5 teachers who can come and do something, but again, they don't have the purchasing power. They have input, someone who has a purchasing power.
Yeah.
And the other question I have is you didn't answer my question. You said why it would be beneficial to have all the students in the class. I understand that. My question is, why do you need it? Because your job is to get started. So why make I'm just asking, am I correct? It's unnecessary. And what's the reason why or why not? But if you need to get started, why create this unnecessary burden of having to get like 30 people instead of having to just get 5 people? Or even better, one person who maybe influences 5 people and who can make their own decision with their parents' credit card, just ask them nicely. Parents love paying for studying things for their kids, as opposed to also a teacher who has to go to a board that probably meets like once a quarter. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Okay, so here's the thing. One of our pain points, one of our selling points is students have trouble when they have questions or complex topics and stuff like that. They have trouble getting a response quickly because the upward is strict deadlines. So like say they have the assignment due or they have a test coming up, a very important test. Just waiting for that response is going to make it very difficult for them to actually study for the test, right? Having all 30 students be in one class will help guarantee a faster and quicker response.
Okay. Do we have time for one final question?
EdTech is historically challenging due to low budgets. Why can't teachers just use Google Classroom? It's free.
Okay, so the main differentiator between Google Classroom and us is that Google Classroom, the teachers, there's a lack of, a lot of the easy discussion that students need to, incentivize asking questions and stuff like that. But it also requires teachers to put a lot of effort into doing assignments and, making an effort to make students do stuff. Well, we want to offer a platform which ties into Mr. Zimmerman's previous question, where it's much more difficult to get students in a class, maybe without your friends, to all pay a single price for a product, because our main selling point is the fact that students in the same class taking the same subject have the same expertise on a topic, right? So back to your question, right? Google Classroom is one of our competitors, but we have a lot of features that make answering questions or asking questions very incentivized and easy and comfortable. For example, we want to implement an anonymous feature, which the teachers will see which students are answering and asking questions, but a lot of the difficulty with asking questions is looking bad in front of your peers. So we want that to be a key feature and to make asking questions comfortable and commonplace in these classrooms.
Yeah, and also I think the difference between Aluna and Google Classroom is our goals. Google Classroom is meant for teachers to assign tasks to students, not all about answering questions. Aluna is form-based and you can answer questions. So a lot of times they use Google Classroom. There's not really feature at all where you can ask questions. It's just teachers assigning all the assignments, and that's about it.
Yeah, to add on to what my teammates are saying, like we're students and have better perspective on what our users want. We also have better access to our users because we're surrounded by peers that match our target audience in our daily lives.
Cool.
So,
Thank you very
sorry,
much.
So do I have time for like one comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is just, more of teaching moment. I have a lot of experience in education sector with nonprofits and also ed tech. And I just want to comment, and kind of reinforce what both Evan and Lauren were saying, right? Like you're going after, as your main customer, someone who has not a lot of purchasing power, very hard for them to actually influence the decisions, purchasing decisions at school and scale, and also doesn't have a lot of time and energy, right? Teachers overworked, stressed, etc. So really just want to kind of challenge you to flip maybe the purchasing power or the burden onto the students themselves, versus going after teachers. And also, just maybe go and rethink your sales strategy to that degree, right? School, you wouldn't hop just from school, teachers directly to school boards.
Just want to add on to what Kristen said about just competitive research. Like one of the things on your slide was wrong. Canvas does have a Q&A. I know I used it in college. So one thing you might consider is when you do more research on these companies, one of the things you will find is that they don't expose every feature. They give the teacher the right to decide what they use in their classroom. And so if you think that Canvas doesn't have it because you aren't seeing it, maybe Google Classroom is the same way. And so you may consider that perhaps in high school, teachers who have the option to not do it or to do it are choosing not to make it available because they think it is bad for their students. But I'm not saying they're right, but I'm saying that if you're considering selling a product, you have to consider what does the person you're selling to think. And so I don't know what the answer is. In college, I can tell you they all loved using it, but maybe in high school, teachers feel differently, and you need to have an answer to that question.
Could I make one final comment, or is time?
No, we're out of time. Okay. Thank you very much, Aluna. Let's welcome the next team. Okay.
Hi guys, I'm Bill.
And I'm Tara, and we are InfoTruster. We help you read privacy policies in seconds. So today, I want to introduce to you guys the biggest lie in the history of the internet. I have read the terms before accepting. According to Forbes, 1 in 1,000 users view documents before pressing agree. You are not alone. Meet Paul, who in 2019 did not care enough to read a policy. This resulted in him giving a company legal access to his firstborn child, all because he didn't read a single term.
Like Paul, any of us could have lost our firstborn child. We encounter privacy policies every single day. In the last 24 hours, these are all the online agreements we have encountered. A lot of these policies are simply too long, contain tough legal jargon, and are so boring to read. Now introducing InfoTruster, a Chrome extension that solves Paul's problem.
Our extensions features include a policy summarizer, an outline risk feature, a grade rating of how safe agreeing to the policy is, and steps to use a site while minimizing data loss. So here is our product demo. We are using a sample privacy policy of Canva. We click our extension, we sign in using our email and password, and then once we input that information, we press sign in. Then we click Get Summary to get a summary of the ways we can use the site without handing over data, risks, user rights, warnings, and a summary.
The service market of Chrome extension has $4.5 billion. We're going to target 9% of the market, which is 100,000 users with $5 million. We're excited to announce that in just 24 hours, we got 5 premium users and $25 in revenue.
Unlike ChatGPT,
InfoTruster stands out with its browser extension format to make privacy policies as easily accessible as possible. We also provide our users with a strong, organized layout and minimal text. A key differentiating factor is that InfoTruster further provides actionable measures to still use a site while limiting privacy loss. Our business model provides 2 plans for our users. We have a basic plan with neat policy summaries and risk reminders, and we have a premium plan at a one-time fee of $4.99. This includes outlining users' risks, a rating system, and steps to minimize risk for our users while still using a website.
Meet our team. All of us have been in a situation we have gotten confused by a company's long privacy policy. With our division of labor, we cover all aspects needed to make our product excellent, from AI to publicity, and that makes us a perfect team. We will generate wealth through advertisements on browsers and social media. Additionally, we will seek partnerships on our premium plan with small private tech companies to encourage their employees to use our extension. Here's our future roadmap. By the end of August 2024, we plan to add 100 of the most popular websites pre-summarized in our database. In September, we'll process to 500. In October, we aim to partner with the first small business. At the end of the year, we plan to add a feature that tracks changes to make policies over time.
We are asking for a seed fund of $100,000. $50,000 will be used for advertisements such as promotions through social media. $30,000 will be used in development to add features and improve our extension, and $20,000 will be used for miscellaneous fees and salary. In summary, our extension summarizes and analyzes privacy policies. Our basic plan is free, while our premium plan is a one-time fee of $4.99. Our seed fund ask is $100,000, and in the future, we plan to improve our database and reach thousands of users.
Thank you. And together, let's make the biggest lie on the internet and this.
How are you making these summaries?
So for the summaries, we're basically taking the link from Chrome's built-in tools with the extensions to get the link. Then we send that off to our GPT-4 API, which summarizes the entire privacy policy. Then we store it in a database so that if somebody decides to summarize the same website, we're not going and calling back that API every single time. We're just pulling it from the database, which also makes the time to get the summary a lot shorter when it's like the same website being summarized over and over. And it also saves costs, but we don't have to call the API every time.
So just a, I guess, follow-up question. Can this be used real time with any privacy policy? You mentioned you were kind of adding 100 websites in your database on the roadmap and then 500 later. Or does it work with a website that's already in your database?
It can get like new privacy policies without being in the database. It's just a lot quicker if it's already in the database and it's already there, perfectly put there, so you'll just grab it from the database. But it can get
take
about 5 to 10 seconds to get the details and summary.
If it's not in the database?
If it's not in the database, yeah.
One thing you might want to consider, by the way, is these databases, so these privacy policies do get updated periodically. It's not super often, but for a company like Canva, it could be once or twice a year. So you might consider building something that also so privacy policies have to say when they were most recently updated. You might consider storing that as metadata, and every time it's scraped, comparing it to that, just to make sure that you're keeping up to date as appropriate. So one thing I would wonder about is sort of the demand and the pricing model, and they're kind of related. Presumably 1 in 1,000 people read it. I think that's an overestimate because they don't care. So how do you get them to pay, or what is the evidence that they actually care? The other question I have is the pricing model, right? $5, especially as a one-time fee, that's not really that much. And so obviously that's enough for you to make money off of sort of now. But the thing is, summarizing these policies, that's ongoing OpEx. And so presumably that means that eventually that $5 you got from someone gets eaten up in GPT API calls summarizing, various privacy policies they're looking at. So how do you think about making money past that initial $5 spend? And small business, by the way, you're doing it for free with GPT. They're not going to pay you to partner. So there must be some other way.
Yeah.
Okay, I can answer the question. So the first question you're asking is wait. Okay.
Makes you think that people will use it and pay for it?
Yeah. So according to our research, and according to our validation process, we actually surveyed a lot of people, and the reason why they don't reach those
is a lot.
50 to 100 people, I guess. Yeah, that's our validation. The people we surveyed. And according to that answers, a lot of people who don't answer, who don't watch, who don't read those terms of conditions, is not because they don't care. It's simply because those privacy policies simply too complicated, and that's why we're trying to make it simplified. And to answer your second questions, yeah. So right now it's $5, and what we're consider is to gain a really stable customer base first. Once we reach 300, let's say 300 to 500 users, we're gonna raise the money to $5 to a amount that actually can cover the future cost and actually make us more profitable.
Could you clarify your target audience? Are you going after consumers or small businesses? Part of your plan said partnering with small business partners, so I wanted to get more clarity.
Yeah, I can answer this question. So we're going after consumers. So internet users that want to download our extension because privacy policies are too confusing. So they actually care enough to download and buy our extension. And then the part about the companies and partnerships. So that would be something that we would kind of find out more about in the future and seek to do in the future. Kind of going with what Evan said about making money later on. So when we want to take that $5 fee and expand it, we could consider partnering with small businesses, and maybe they would get their employees, if they're focused in the tech industry, they would get their employees to buy our product.
One thing you might consider is you use the term customer base. Typically that means they're buying more than one thing from you, right? And so one thing you might consider is, what's another thing I can sell that is useful? So consider, for example, you know where they're going and you know what their privacy risks are. So maybe you can have an ultra premium that gives them a privacy dashboard they can log into at any time, instead of trying to get a small business to partner with you for something where maybe they, don't necessarily, then you're trying to sell the whole another person, right? So one of the things that I'm curious is, obviously you have these privacy policies, but sometimes you have things that have a certain context. So I'll give you an example. We're a little different. We're a B2B enterprise company at Edge, but we have to have permission to move the data around because we have to provide people the service. We have servers, and we have to be able to say, well, Washington is down. We're using Ohio today. So have you considered giving people maybe context or explainers as to why things are the way they are? Maybe tracking other things like cookies and telling them what's going on the websites they're at. And basically, I think not just telling them what's there, but making it less scary. Because when I saw the initial screenshot you saw, I was like, as someone in the industry, a lot of these might scare someone, but they also might leave them just as confused, even though it's bite-sized.
Yeah, I think those are all things that we would definitely add in the future.
Oh yeah, I wanted to bring us back, I guess, with this discussion about potential future features on the roadmap. Wanted to kind of bring us back to pricing. I'm curious as to why it's a one-time fee versus, something that could be a subscription, right? Whether monthly, annual, etc. Especially if you plan to add on more features.
The main reason for that is because because $5 isn't that much to a lot of people. So the reason why we put $5 is to want attract more customers, so that we have a lot of users already. So then we can start adding money or raise our price. So that's the reason why we start with $5. So it isn't people wouldn't care that much.
Oh, sorry, just to clarify, the question is why a one-time fee versus a subscription from an individual or a recurring fee?
So we also looked at since we're selling on the Chrome Web Store, we're an extension. We looked at what a lot of other business models are for Chrome extensions. And first of all, a lot of them are free. Not a lot of them actually sell to people. So by doing a one-time fee, I think that would make people more likely to buy our product because a lot of them are free. And then the ones that are paid are just one time. So that's what we followed.
Okay, we have time for
one. You might want to do slightly more research. A lot of the Chrome extensions are free because they are tied to a subscription that someone pays for elsewhere. So you might want to double check that research.
Okay. Thank you very much, InfoThruster. Let's welcome the next team.
Hello, my name is Shlok. And my name is Ethan. And this is Let Me Cook, a way to transform your favorite online recipes into detailed macronutrient summaries tailored to your fitness goals. Our ideal user would be a person who wants to achieve their fitness goals in a fast and effective way.
So meet Sophia. She says, I'm extremely interested in fitness, but after using a lot of apps for nutrition, nothing has really worked. Sophia is a teenager that's been consistently working out in the gym for over 6 months now, but she's seeing minimal results. What Sophia fails to realize is that building muscle does not only consist of working out, but also intaking the correct amount of macronutrients. And so Sophia has developed a severe case of body dysmorphia, which is extremely common amongst the teenage population of Gen Z.
But Sophia is not alone. What Sophia and many other teens are experiencing is called exercise-induced stress, which can lead to declining performance and potential injury. 30% of teens suffer from this, resulting in symptoms which can all contribute to premature death.
Let Me Cook relieves this stress. Teenagers, including Sophia, need to shift their focus and prioritize a healthier diet by following the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your fitness goals comes from the food you eat and only 20% comes from the actual workouts themselves. And we do this using.
Firstly, we have an import recipes page, which transforms Sophia's favorite recipe from Google or YouTube into a detailed nutritional summary that aligns with Sophia's specific goals. All Sophia has to do is import the recipe link onto our app.
Then, our recipe rating system checks whether the recipe Sophia has chosen is actually beneficial for her. It also provides workout advice and further nutritional information.
If Sophia is unhappy with the rating of this recipe in comparison to her fitness goal, our app allows her to still go ahead with this recipe, providing ingredient alterations to make the recipe more in line with her goals.
Here's a quick product demo. Let's say Sophia wanted to cook crispy shredded chicken, but she doesn't know whether this recipe aligns with her fitness goals. So she copies the link and heads to the Let Me Cook app, where our AI will provide her with an instant nutritional analysis on the recipe. If she wanted to check if the recipe aligns with her specific fitness goals, she could rate it. If she wanted to alter the recipe in order for it to align more with her fitness goals, our AI will show exactly what to add or remove from the recipe without compromising taste. But the thing is, your food can't taste good without the best ingredients.
Our secret ingredient is our low prices. After launch, we will switch to a subscription-based model, which will have a cost of $7.99 monthly. However, our app is currently taking pre-orders, with a one-time fee of $10 to access the app. In fact, we've already gotten 9 pre-orders, which represents
$90 USD in revenue in just the first few days of outreach. And this is without investing in any major marketing efforts or creating eye-catching product showcases, which shows the immense potential of our product.
And as for our competitors, Sophia has used Lose It and MyFitnessPal but isn't seeing any real muscle gain. While we also offer macronutrient tracking, Let Me Cook goes one step further with AI-powered features, recipe imports, and ratings. And don't worry about competition. The market is big enough for all of us. Because in 2023, the global fitness app market was worth $1.35 billion. And by 2031, it's projected to be worth a whopping $4.8 billion. This shows a significant market potential Let Me Cook has in this industry.
In order to continue scaling our business, here's our future roadmap. By the third quarter of 2024, we'll add many new features such as fitness tracking and AI workout suggestions. By the first quarter of 2025, we plan to expand our consumer base through social media marketing and paid advertisements. And finally, by the second quarter of 2025, we'll start our mobile app development for the App Store and the Play Store, making macronutrient tracking even more convenient for teens just like Sophia.
To achieve this, we asked for $50,000, which will be invested into, firstly, ads and marketing campaigns, which will help improve awareness of our product, and software development to design a better app with more intuitive features and improve overall user experience. And we should know,
because we're all Gen Z, meaning that we ourselves relate to and understand exercise-induced stress and dietary problems. And surprisingly, all of us have actually been seeking a solution to these problems, which Let Me Cook helps provide.
To conclude, Let Me Cook is an industry-redefining health and fitness app for Gen Z. With proven traction in our $90 in pre-orders, we are asking for $50,000 in investments to invest in marketing and development.
Once again, we're Let Me Cook. Thank you, and let's get cooking.
So can I ask the first question? I guess what percentage of you are cooking all of your own meals as Gen Z from scratch? Or do you have research, I guess for you personally, but also what's your research on that for teens?
So from our validation form, we've seen that like actually a good amount of people in Gen Z are willing to cook their own meals, and especially this new generation. There's been an uprise in trend of people going to the gym, and when people go to the gym, they love to do like meal prepping. So they'll cook their meals because they want to meet their specific goals. So our app helps them like quickly align their fitness goals with using this app, and then also further goals in the gym if they're trying to gain muscle or gain weight or whatever the case may be.
So the reason I ask that is because I think that this is an app that could apply to, anyone who wants kind of control over, their cooking macros, health, et cetera. So just wondering why you're limiting yourself to teens where, a lot of them might be relying on parents or food, or you're buying food from school, et cetera. Like, why limit your audience, your target audience to teens?
I think we're limiting our audience because like our main idea was to like allow for imports from like YouTube, Google, and also social media. And that's the main reason why we're limiting to Gen Z, because Gen Z are like the major users of social media. And if they want to, let's like import a link from like, or wherever, like YouTube or TikTok, then I think that was the main reason why we tried to stay within Gen Z.
I mean, first of all, super cool that you can actually import from video. I do wonder though, the kind of person who's interested in macronutrients is probably, there are some tools you can use, like Chronometer didn't make it in, but that's one of the ones that most of the gym junkies I know use. What are you thinking to make it something that is, not just something that, is enough for them, especially because those apps are free and you're thinking of charging money.
So I don't really know the functions of Chronometer, but specific to the Gen Z market, our main competitors would be MyFitnessPal and Lose It. And the main difference that we are from the market is the fact that we provide the AI service, so we rate those recipes in specific and in correlation to what our specific user necessarily wants as their fitness goal.
So one of the hardest things with fitness apps is actually getting people to open it. MyFitnessPal, for example, has horrendous churn. So you managed to make the importing easier, which really great job, actually. That's like a really cool idea to really lower the barrier to entry. But how do you get people to actually open it each time? And what do you have any data from users who are already trying it out who are not yourselves?
One of the things that we did when we were surveying our users at the beginning, when we were coming up with the idea, and we found that a lot of people would like the idea of just maybe having a notification, pop up on their phone and say every morning or whatever time of day they like to work out. And so in our upcoming quarters and in the future, we plan to try to implement that so our users get notifications when it's time to work out.
Yeah, and adding on to that, we also, like, in the future, we wanted to add something like an accountability chart. So it's kind of like something that would be keeping track of your progress and how many times that you're using the app. And kind of like a progress checker that you see on other typical fitness apps.
If you're going for this more goal-oriented gym approach, and one thing to what Kristen said, maybe don't say that it's Gen Z, maybe it's gym goers. And that can also help you save money on marketing, right? You can do things in front of the gyms or walk around and hand out flyers at the gym that you go to, and that's free. No one's going to stop you. So you don't even have to spend money on it.
I think that's a great idea, and we'll definitely take it as feedback. I think we just leveraged on the market because specifically we found out that around 66% of Gen Z after COVID had an uprise in interest for fitness and health. So we decided to just leverage that market. But we'll take that as feedback and we'll definitely think of it in scalability.
I'd love to learn more about your strategy to kind of extract the recipes, especially from video, other text, and if you're incorporating any AI.
Yeah, so our app is based on the Google Gemini features right now. So as of now, our app only works with Google and YouTube recipes because Google isn't allowed to process TikTok or Instagram video. However, we have tested it with Google and YouTube videos, and it works within that. But in the future, we're hoping to use an AI that's able to analyze like Instagram Reels and TikToks, because I know there's a lot of recipes, like trending recipes that get posted on there. And, you know, Gen Z and gym goers like to see these recipes, and then to have a way to either alter them or see if they're aligning with your fitness goals. That would be our goal for the future.
Okay. Earlier you said part of your strategy of targeting Gen Z was because you're able to do social media. So I think like TikTok and Instagram would be big parts of that strategy. So I just wanted to call out that maybe what other judges have mentioned, like the audience that you're actually going for, if you can't even get from those other social media sites, like I might revisit that strategy and then go for people with more purchasing power.
Yeah, I think moving forward, like we want to make it so that it's not only when people want to import a link, they open our app, like it's also when they want to search for recommended recipes for their fitness goals. So I think moving forward, we can expand that to like a wider age range of consumers.
Remember, if you do that, you're now taking on the cost of actually getting that data and putting it together. And you can't just take it from other websites because that's their intellectual property. That's copyright, right? You can't just say, here's a list of the New York Times recipes. I suppose you can link out as an aggregator, but you can't actually have them there. So you got to figure out, how is this going to relate to the costs of running your business?
Thank you very much, Let Me Cook. And thank you, judges, for the questions. Next team, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Arush.
I'm Jay.
And I'm Harshita.
And together, we will present our startup, Perfectly You.
Now, first, I want to introduce Stephen to you. One thing to know about Stephen is that he has been crushing on this girl for months, and he finally had enough. He mustered up the courage to ask her out and got dressed in his best attempt at looking cool. Can you guess her reaction? Unfortunately, a no. Stephen realized his chemistry with her wasn't the issue. The outfit just didn't make the impression he hoped for. We've all had those moments like Stephen, feeling out of place, trying to dress a certain way to impress. But what effects did this have? People begin to lose their confidence simply because of what they wear.
In a world where first impressions count, Perfectly You makes it easy for you to shine as yourself, no matter the occasion. Perfectly You connects people with personal stylists, ensuring personalized and approved outfits. We also offer freelance stylists, flexible job opportunities, making personalized fashion accessible. But how can Perfectly You change Stephen's fashion? Let's find out.
We offer 3 services from Perfectly You. The first service gives Stephen the option to meet with a professional stylist in a Zoom meeting to explore options, discuss preferences, and see each piece in real time. Booking a meeting is easy, and the topic of it is customizable. If a customer wants to receive outfit suggestions, general consultation, or anything else, they can let the stylist know beforehand. If he doesn't have time for a Zoom meeting, Stephen can always fill out the Perfectly Used exclusive preference form that captures his unique wants and needs in addition to his customer profile. This preference form allows our stylist to create tailored outfit recommendations. Or if Stephen just wants to buy a whole outfit without the need for a stylist, he can buy directly from top brands through Perfectly Used affiliate links, guaranteeing authentic products from trusted retailers. Now let's talk about some numbers. Our serviceable obtainable market are Americans from ages 18 to 40 years old who value convenience and personalized fashion to emphasize their identity, and it's valued at $1 billion. Going bigger, our serviceable available market is a U.S. personal styling industry and was valued at $2 billion in 2023. Lastly, the global personal styling market is our total addressable market, currently valued at $6 billion in 2023.
We charge a $17 fee for our style preference form, and our profit margin is 30%. And from our Zoom styling sessions, which are priced at $30, our profit margin is 25%. Additionally, we make money through outfit purchases, earning a 5 to 10% commission via affiliate links from top fashion retailers.
Stephen prefers our personalized services compared to our competitors Stitch Fix, Armoire, and Dia & Co. Our one-on-one Zoom meetings let him directly communicate with his stylist and approve outfits before they arrive. Other competitors like Fiverr or Upwork lack the convenience that we have with our detailed preference form.
And Steven feels even more assured when he sees our team. We are a team of 7 passionate individuals dedicated to transforming the fashion industry. Combining our diverse expertise in fashion, technology, and business development, we are driven to revolutionize how people shop for clothes. And we want to ensure people can find a balance between comfort and their own confidence. We want to make you perfectly you.
So this is what we're looking forward to. The market for personal stylists is growing rapidly. So take a look at this timeline. By the end of the year, we strive to reach 50 stylists, achieve 500 customers, and $10,000 in revenue. To do this, we will use social media, influencers, and referral programs for the first 6 months, and scale marketing with a loyalty program in the next 6 months. We will build a strong community of stylish Gen Z who are confident to show their personal identity on any occasion.
We are asking for $85,000 for the first year to cover our initial setup, website development, marketing, and staffing costs. Up until today, we have had 2 sales and our customers purchased our Zoom call with the stylist and the preference form, and that resulted in us making $47 in revenue.
In conclusion, well, remember Steven? This is him after collaborating with Perfectly You. We think he has a better shot now.
To conclude, at Perfectly You, we believe everyone deserves the best as we strive for inclusivity, and we are very committed to achieving our goal of personalized fashion just like Stefan.
Thank you. Now let us make you perfectly you.
Could you just clarify the product offering again? I was a little bit confused about the first one. You said you're making money off of a form. You have a form and then there's a Zoom call. What do you mean by the form?
Well, it's a preference form where basically, first, when a customer signs up or logins to our page, they have a customer profile where they talk about their general features, like their body shape, their height, weight, etc. And for a preference form, if, for example, a customer, Stephen, is looking to get outfit suggestions or direct purchases from our website, there is a form for that where we ask about if they wanted to clarify the event that they're looking to special attention for, or special suggestions for, or if they want anything different other than their usual style. For example, in my daily life, I don't prefer wearing ball gowns to my school and other casual events. But if I'm going to an event which expects me, the dress code is formal or other than my usual style, then I can use that preference form in order to receive suggestions.
So do you employ the stylists, or is it a platform for contractor stylists who have their own business?
Well, a lot of the stylists we talk to up until today are actually freelance stylists. So, to put it in general, we are not employing them, but we're collaborating with them. So, they can also bring their customers to the platform, which will benefit both us and the stylist, because our platform is kind of providing an easier, an easier platform, a place for them to connect with their stylist and also get I'm trying to find the right word, but trying to get correct kind of attention.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a straightforward thing. So you are a platform for existing stylists. You are not employing them. So Stitch Fix, by the way, does have stylists. That's actually the point of the business. But what they do to keep stylists there, so first of all, it's not a platform, so you'll have less diversity. But the flip side is that you don't have the disintermediation problem with Stitch Fix, because these stylists do not leave. They have this AI thing they do that helps the stylist be way more efficient to offer that price point in the first place. Stylists normally charge way more than that. They charge hundreds of dollars per hour. There's a stylist in Silicon Valley who charges $500 an hour. to put people in like plaid t-shirts. It's ridiculous. So nonetheless, what are you actually doing to get that price point where these guys aren't losing money using you? And what are you doing to make it so that there's not a reason for them to just give their cell phone number to someone when they're on the business and then never use you again once they start working with someone? Like, I have no idea why I would, as a stylist, use this for my existing customers.
So I guess we were thinking about like implementing like a loyalty program almost. Like, so first of all, if you work with us, we were thinking of like, you know, giving like a discount on your next purchase. And additionally, like the stylists, so right now it's $30, but because stylists, like we, you know, they put in their own times and it gets booked. Like right now, just because we're starting out, like we haven't like really like decided a price because like we didn't need to, but you know, like we are gonna have the stylists like, you know, choose their own like, I guess, prices, because they're all gonna have like their individual things on the selections. Like there are going to be like a range of different stylists and they're all going to put in their specific prices. And then after that, so like we can implement like a loyalty program for customers to stay with us because they'd get a discount. And additionally, like maybe we were thinking of doing like a contractual kind of relationship with them, for them to just kind of say.
And also, yeah, also in addition, our platform actually, our website, not platform, our website also allows new stylists to find new customers. So it's like what we're doing is that we're taking the customers and stylists and like giving them a platform, a website, so they can communicate. And our reasoning for like our method of not using I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time rephrasing myself. Rephrase it real quick. So the actual strategy of ours to keep our stylists is that, for example, I am a person, like I'm a customer, and I like do not already have a stylist that I go to and I know personally. So when I go onto the website, I can see the stylist details, but I actually cannot, like the stylist cannot view my personal details. So like they can't exactly give them the certain number and like work with them out of our platform.
So I have a follow-up to that builds on some of Evan's questions, but I think when a lot of people are searching for stylists, they are looking at that stylist, you know, personal client style, past work with clients, et cetera. They're having discovery through whether it's Instagram, TikTok, et cetera. And I think also, so I'm trying to understand how that works practically on your site if you're kind of limiting a lot of this information, right? And the loyalty is still a problem, right? What's preventing them from, you know, the stylist just shooting them their website or Instagram and, you know, having them work together outside. And then additionally, right, there's a lot of stores like Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, you get a free styling appointment or, you know, in-person store. So I'm also curious, you know, why Zoom only? A lot of people will choose to work with stylists who provide services. You know, they come to your house, they look at your style, they look at your closet, or they're actually going shopping with you to, you know, fit the clothes in real life. So just trying to understand why Zoom only, why online only.
To answer your question, most of the stylists that we've reached out to, they're located in the United Kingdom because as we're like a startup business, I'm not positive that professional stylists would like collaborate with us. So far we've just collaborated with fashion students in the United Kingdom because there's not as many like fashion opportunities there. And they've agreed to collaborate with us, but that's mainly the reason we decided to do Zoom only. But as we scale our business, that's probably an option we would look into.
Yeah, I would just say that one of the things you should consider is that like stylists do actually get discounts with these stores. And it's true that at scale, you will be able to get a bigger discount than them, but you're not at scale yet. And so I think that one of the things you need to really think about when you have a startup is not just what are some of the advantages you will have when you're big, what's the reason for people to use you now before you have those advantages? So targeting like fashion students, that's actually really clever, right? They're just as stylish, but they're not professionals yet. So they're probably willing to do it. But I think that Kristen's raised like a bunch of issues that I would really, you know, sort of think about as well, because the dollar amount is super low, even for a college student.
Yeah. And actually our reasoning for that is that as we are just starting, we want to like be personally asked our stylists to keep their prices low. And as we can get more customers, then we will be increasing their prices. And this is like kind of an agreement. And we like not discuss the specific amount of change. And the reason actually for not like the stylist doing physical work is that you actually ask the stylist, and they tend to charge more for their physical work. Like, for example, if a stylist wants to go and go shopping with you or buy clothes for you physically, then they will be spending more time and effort, and also they will also have costs like transportation and food, etc. So our aim and our slogan also says that everybody, and that's everybody, deserves best. So we're trying to make personalized fashion and styling industry more available to a larger base of customers. So that's why.
Awesome. Thank you, Perfectly You. And let's welcome the next team. Next and final team.
Hi, my name is Hanan.
And I'm Angela.
And we are introducing Harmony Space. We support Gen Z through their mental health with convenience. Meet a friend of mine. She was a social, playful, and outgoing 11-year-old. But then COVID hit, and she wasn't the same. Maybe it was that she spent too much time alone. Maybe because she was on YouTube all day. Or maybe it was because she broke ties with everyone who cared for her. It started off with, I hate everyone. Then I hate myself. Then I'm useless. I can't be loved. I hate my life. She said these things to herself every day like a ritual until she believed them solely. That little girl was me. But it wasn't only me.
That is 42% of Gen Z in America battle with depression and feelings of hopelessness. That's nearly 30 million people of the future of our world being affected by mental health. And while we can't get them off their phones, we can make accessing mental health support as easy as watching the next TikTok video. Take a look at some of my features.
We offer the daily self-esteem questions feature. To boost self-esteem, users are asked a new question every day that will lead them to answer positively and therefore feel optimistic about themselves.
Another feature our app offers is Walk With Me. This is a 15-minute guided walk mediating the bridge between anxiety and calmness, assisting the user by combating them with physical wellness through exercise and mental wellness through mindful activities.
Our app also has a daily tasks feature. Users will be sent daily notifications containing a task built to help them achieve their mental health through routine. Our current target market is $390,000, with 40,000 Gen Z struggling with mental health in California alone. However, in the future, with the resources that we need, we aim to reach the rest of the United States with a possible market of $300 million. After presenting our idea to our target audience, we got 55 people on our waitlist in just 24 hours.
We will be offering a 7-day free trial followed by a one-time fee of $9.99. With 1,000 users, that leads us to $10,000. But this is only the beginning of our app.
By the fall of 2024, we plan on integrating AI algorithms that will give the user options to fit their lifestyle. By the winter of 2025, we plan on introducing gamification. By the spring of 2025, we plan on integrating community interaction features.
We are asking for $315,000. We plan to invest $210,000 in engineering and design, $55,000 in marketing, and $50,000 in operating costs.
We are the perfect team for this because we are all Gen Z. We are familiar with mental health challenges. We know what lights up our mood when we feel down, and we know what calms us down when we feel stressed. We want to help Gen Z because we understand them. We know them. We are them.
Gen Z is the future of this world, and they're the most susceptible to mental health struggles. We plan to use personalization to fit each and every user, and with over 55 signups in 24 hours, we have evidence that there is demand for our app.
Thank you. And let's help Gen Z own their mental health.
So I think my first question would be, right, what are your recommendations, right, resources, exercises based on, are they research and science backed? The reason I asked is because when I was working at Pinterest, we did design a lot of free mental health resources for our users. However, given, the nature of mental health and how serious it is, we did partner with clinical psychologists from Stanford to ensure these resources were vetted and tested.
Yeah. So a lot of our features, we had researched them a bunch, like self-affirmations, for example, that was researched. Like it is known to help, just as affirmations of putting yourself down can make you feel so terrible about yourself, affirmations of good things that you say to yourself can definitely raise your spirit. And a lot of the times things like routine, like daily tasks, or answering a question like, what is one thing you're happy with yourself for doing today? That is another way of just affirming yourself daily, just trying to get yourself into the routine of just like loving yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually my first question as well. First of all, thanks for sharing your story, Hanan. Very cool chair. I've been staring at this entire time. So one of the things that I've been, wondering about this is, you have a lot of competition from free apps, and especially now Apple has its daily journal feature, which is actually, it's got system access. And so while obviously this kind of stuff is, not necessarily a bad idea, you have to consider in the context of, other people who have unfair advantages. So how are you thinking of getting this to be a thing that people actually use when there are already so many well-established daily journaling apps and, system-based apps now?
Mm-hmm. So I would like to go back to one of the slides that we were talking about where we're talking about our next steps. So currently, with the time given, we were able to build some of the features that you probably have seen it in many apps like Headspace or Calm, for example. However, we plan on, in the future, we do recognize that many of these features you've seen them a lot, but in the future, we plan on integrating AI algorithms. And basically with this, we plan on taking it a step further than what our competition does by really taking into consideration the person's personality, their life experiences, who they are as a person. Every day that they answer a question or maybe skip it or choose another option, we see what kind of person they are and give them the tasks, affirmations, reminders fit to them. And we think that because our current target market is Gen Z, we want to make it just for them. Whereas you may notice that a lot of the other mental health apps like Headspace or Calm, it's more broad. So that's what we plan on doing in the future.
And to add on real quick to what Kristen asked earlier about like all the research and stuff. So we did have a psychologist with us, a clinical psychologist with us to verify and fact check our information. She is very experienced with in her field. So yeah.
Yeah, I had a quick question on your monetization strategy. I'm curious why you went with the one-time fee versus a subscription model.
So we kind of so I think that we started off with that because we feel that Gen Z, meaning like teens, they don't have the financial capability to do that over a long period of time, and that's how we saw it. And this is how we plan on starting off. But in the future,
I think that we want to do premium versions where we will implement a subscription of some sort.
Yeah, and also to add on real quick, we also did a 7-day free trial as mentioned in the presentation. We wanted to use that as a way to attract more customers to our app and also give them a chance to make their own decision whether they want to use the app or not.
Yeah, and I think that was a similar concern of mine too, right? Because you mentioned these additional features on the roadmap, like personalization, et cetera, that can get very, expensive.
Yeah, I think a common pricing mistake that I see with consumer is that people either overcharge or undercharge, in the sense that there are a lot of things it's true for consumers where if you put in a charge, people will say no. But usually that's about free versus charging. It's like if you charge anything, even 99 cents one time, some people will go like, ew. But once you have decided to charge, you've actually filtered most of those people out. And then you can actually oftentimes charge more than you think you can, once you've actually made that decision. I'm actually kind of surprised to not see any people who are interested in doing ad-based supporting stuff. Like tons of consumer things are ad-based for a reason, that you can get those free people, especially if it's something that's a broad consumer thing, we can get scale. So that's the thing I would maybe consider, especially through things like affiliate links and extra purchasing. Like there are ways you can make money without necessarily charging a one-time fee. So in this case, for example, you could have links out to therapists that you charge an affiliate fee for. You could sell things that are soothing to people, like bath bombs and things like that you don't even have to do, right? They're affiliate links out. So I would consider that as part of a monetization strategy to potentially also make it free and get even more adoption. Because in a space that has existed for a while, there's always the question of adoption and why should I use this as opposed to the thing that I'm already using or nothing. Because remember, there's a selection effect. When something's been around for a while, you actually know something about the people who aren't using it. There's probably a reason they have not yet. So that's the thing I would really encourage actually everyone here to think about, is those selection effects for markets that have been around for a while. There's oftentimes a reason that those people are not being served today, and you need to know why in order to serve them.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Hanan and team, Harmony Space. Thank you very much. Now,
thank you.
Here's what's going to happen. We've reached the climax point. Now, the judges and myself will go back to the we'll go to the backstage, and then they are going to discuss like what they saw, what they think about these teams. And remember that we're coming back with 2 titles, Most Outstanding Company and the Best Pitch. And remember that the Most Outstanding Company title is not in comparison to the others. I really want to make that clear because LinkUp is not a competition. They are going to judge based on the context of each company and what they achieved in 4 weeks, their product market fit, their insights into the target market, and their product, okay? So judges, if you can join me in the backstage, there's a button down below that says backstage. Click on that, and then I will meet you on the backstage, okay? All right, we are back with the results. Now, may I ask the judges to come on stage with me, please? Click the button down below that says webinar, and we are ready to share the results. Now, I'm not gonna share the results. The judges themselves will share the results. So first is gonna go Best Pitch, and then Most Outstanding Company, okay? So Christine, whenever you're ready.
So for Best Pitch, we had a lot of deliberation, but this one was, I believe, company number 4, Let Me Cook. So we're really excited, right, about the idea to transform online recipes into summaries, and we felt the team communicated that really clearly. I think what captivated us across the board was the fact that it was so clear, who your audience was, what you were building. There's an intro with the actual link. We got to see the feature itself, and just extremely clear. I want to emphasize again, what the problem is and how it solves it. Clear and concise and captivating. And then, oh yeah, go ahead, Evan.
Oh no, go ahead, Kristen.
Again, I think, for best pitch, we wanted to kind of share to other companies that we thought had really great lessons to learn from. One of those was Harmony Space. We really loved the kind of personal intro where one of the founders shared her own story and thought that was very captivating.
Definitely. The other one that we want to mention is Personal You. And the reason why is that could have been the best pitch. The problem was that the most clever thing about the company wasn't even in the pitch at all. It came out in the Q&A. The idea of using fashion students to be able to offer a price that no other company can plausibly offer, and even independent consultants can't offer, that's a really smart idea. And that should have been like within the first 30 seconds. We can offer something other people can't have because of this cool thing. But the pitch thing is judging how you presented it, not the company itself. And so because it didn't make it into the pitch, we couldn't give you points for that. And so I'm going to present most outstanding startup. For us, it was really clear. It was, it's Infotech, right? I thought that,
yeah.
Yes. The part of what made it really clear was, although there's the one-time fee thing, it was something where you could imagine people actually paying for it. The user interface was very built out. They clearly done a lot of consumer research, like a survey with a meaningful number of people. And you could see clearly how it could expand to other features over time, where you could get people to pay even more money for it. And so, and the pitch, although it didn't win most outstanding pitch, it was still a pitch that was good. It was clear what it did. It was clear what the features were. And so for us, it was actually pretty clear to make that the
Great. Do you have anything to say, Kristen, about the most outstanding company? Maybe some learning lessons, and Evan as well to the whole class?
Oh, sure. Same kind of as above for Infrastructure. I think, for most outstanding company, right, it was a clear, right, target audience, a clear problem you were solving. Chrome extension was very thought through, very clear features, and I think also understanding of the competition for that, most outstanding company. And I think a really important thing they did was sharing kind of the roadmap with us. Like we were able to see scale and how the company could grow. So just want to emphasize how important that was.
Yeah, I would say that it was plausible, right? Like anyone can show a roadmap, but like when investors see a roadmap, they're not they're not as much looking for like, this is when I'm making my iOS app. That's like way too granular. Like there was a time where that was a thing, but that's not anymore. What people are looking to see more of is like, here are the really big feature releases that are going to make a big difference. Or here's like the product that this is building up to. And so I would say, as you think about that roadmap, that helps people dream about how big your company can be. And so, yeah, that's for general lessons for the people who are here. So we thought there were two that we thought were really important. The first one I want to talk about is AI and counter positioning. So one thing that we did not intend, but that ended up happening, was that the two companies that won were both AI companies. The reason for that is because AI lets you, right now, the bar has gotten so low, you can make something really cool in a really short amount of time. And everyone here was serving a market that exists and is well served, okay? Now, it doesn't mean you can't make a successful business, but it does mean that you have to understand why people are not using the existing solutions or get them to switch, which means, I use this example sometimes of fintech. So in the 2010s, you wouldn't have been aware of some of these new companies because you would have been in like grade school. But, a lot of people get loans from banks, and there are a lot of people who didn't get loans or insurance or something for like their cars or their houses. And so a lot of tech companies came out and said, hey, we're going to use machine learning to target these people and find them and give them loans because they're underserved. It turns out there was a negative selection effect. They weren't getting loans because they were credit risks. A lot of these companies lost money and realized, oh, they didn't get loans because they shouldn't have been getting loans in the first place. And so, for example, if you're in a well-served market and you're talking to people who aren't using a solution, maybe there's a reason they're not using that solution. And you need I should say there is a reason. And you need to find out what that is. It could be that they're just bad customers and they're never going to use it. And what you actually need to do is target people who are currently using something and find the biggest problem they have with the current solution and get them to switch away. Or maybe there's something that isn't being solved by the existing solutions because it cannot be solved by existing solutions. And then you need to offer some kind of platform shift to justify why you can make something that someone who's not going to change their product for their millions of customers is going to change. That was why the AI companies were actually the most compelling. Because if you think about what they do today, you have these long terms of services. They're annoying. AI can summarize it for you. You couldn't do that before. Similarly, there are existing recipe companies, or macronutrient trackers, but they're a pain in the butt. You have to enter everything. Put in a link, the AI will pull it out for you. That's really cool. You can't do that today. And that reduces the barrier to entry. So I would just think about those kinds of counter positioning and negative selection effect things. And then, we have a second thing that we thought was really important. But before that, Kristen, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think that, right, as Evan was saying, what sets you apart? What's your competitive advantage? You're entering markets that already exist. So I think in a pitch, you want to make that crystal clear, for the investors you're pitching to, or, judges like ourselves. And that's really going to be your competitive advantage. I think, I have more comments on the second and third things we're going to share.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, if it's not clear to us, it's definitely not clear to your customers. Yeah. I would say the second thing that's just really important to me was just that you really need to do your research. You don't want to get into analysis paralysis. Moving too slow is a failure mode. For a company, you are inherently taking on risk. That's fine. But you got to make damn sure that the things you look up are right. Every single pitch said things about their competitors, or more importantly, their customers, that were just wrong. And so you don't need to go out and make sure you know all 1,000 long tails of these, tiny ass companies that you're not even going to be trying to compete with. But you do need to make sure that if you say this company doesn't do X, it actually doesn't do X. Or my customer says that this is too hard. Oh, was it actually too hard for them? Or did they say that to you to be nice, and actually the problem is just they're never going to pay for something? Or the average person has this, and that's just one survey. And actually I only talked to 3 people. You need to make sure the things that you say are true, are solid, that the research you've done is good. You don't have to do a crazy amount, because then you won't spend any time building and learning. But you have to really make sure what you do is right.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, right, it's okay to not know something, or, to present, the actual work you've done. But I think the moment you say something that is wrong, that causes, right, loss of trust with whoever you're pitching to, et cetera. So it's really important to know your core fundamentals around, who your customers are, how you've conducted your research, what that research actually says. Have you dug deep, to find kind of the root cause of a problem, not just a Band-Aid solution, right? In product management, which is my whole background, we often joke that, you can't do exactly what your customers tell you to do, right? Sometimes they're just telling you a symptom of the problem, and you need to actually dig deep and find what is that true pain point? What's that fundamental cause? So just want to kind of share that as some advice, and also just, right, nailing those fundamentals around your competitors. What are the biggest competitors, or the most well-known ones in the space? And if you are going to make those feature lists, make sure you really do your homework and research on them.
Kristen said something that's so important that I want to jump off of, and that's the idea of credibility and trust. So you have to, just for purposes of pitching, you have to play to your strengths. Your weaknesses is that you are teenagers, and therefore already a lot of investors are going to listen and say, what do these guys know about the world? And then you say something that's not true about a competitor. I'm like, these guys can't even do research. I've turned off. It's different for us because we're here judging you and we do teenagers all the time, but the average investor, no. What do you have an advantage on? First of all, you do know your generation, but they can read research reports too. Tell them something that they can't read in a research report. The other thing you know for sure that they don't know is how people are using your product. Now, obviously, this is the first few weeks. It's going to be different at the end where you're going to have people using it, but try to focus things on what you are an expert on. And that's like the things that are not in reports. Like, here's the app all my friends are using, and here's how people are using my product. Because that second thing, you are literally the only person in the world who knows it. And that's an important part of learning and research too. It's more important than, the market research. But it's, again, another thing where you better make sure the things you're saying are true. Because look, in this case, like, for example, if you say daily active users, they better be daily. That's not going to come up here because we're not actually doing diligence. But if you, for example, say daily active users are a real pitch, and I give you a term sheet, and in diligence you actually meant weekly, it is gone. And I'm going to tell everyone I know that you lied to me during the pitch, and you are going to be blacklisted from Silicon Valley. So, again, you've got to make sure that the things you say are correct. Now, the third thing we wanted to talk about was pricing and business model. And this was actually a really interesting one. Do you want to kick it off, Kristen?
Yeah, I think something that we noticed, right, as a pattern across the board that kind of stood out was that there's a lot of apps that were kind of one-time fee, and we totally get it, right? There's a lot of exhaustion around everything has become a subscription. Why does it have to be a subscription? But Evan, mentioned a couple different monetization and pricing strategies, such as affiliate marketing. That'd be interesting to consider. And we also were wondering, what about ads? Right? That's how a lot of free businesses have survived, and right, with premium add-ons as well. And I think sometimes, right, it's hard to say, oh my gosh, are ads viable for my company? Like that, I can't make money unless we have millions of daily active users. But we wanted to say that ads can be viable, especially if you have a very niche customer segment or niche audience that they know is going to spend or is hard to target. And I think that's what we see in a lot of these apps, right? They're Gen Z in a very specific market. And I can share some lessons for TopGG. TopGG, scaled, I think, to 700,000 daily active users and maybe 10 million monthly active users. But TopGG was making money from ads very, very early. And one of the reasons for that was because it was so niche, right? It's targeting bot developers, Discord server owners, a lot of gamers who have propensity to spend, and people were willing to pay to access those audiences and get that conversion.
I want to make an important point, which is it's, she used the term propensities to spend. It's niche and high dollar. And so I think that the thing with Gen Z is, look, if you're targeting younger people, you really do need to have a level of skill, usually because it's the parent's credit card, right? But if it's something that's really like more specific and you're not necessarily only targeting kids, then you can plausibly argue that you can charge like really crazy amounts of money to be able to target some of these people. I will say you can also sell stuff, like a product. Kristen mentioned premium add-ons. I will say that your fundraising asks should scale appropriately. Like if you're doing an ad-based model, that's actually fine. I just am going to expect you to try to raise somewhere from $1 to $5 million and not like $100,000. Ultimately, I think that, thinking about how to align the model, with your costs, like you have an ongoing cost, you have to have a way you're making money on them continuously, or at least on a regular basis, and with the value you're providing, so that you can actually make meaningful revenue and not just like 10 grand. That's great for a student. I hope you make 10 grand for a business that is pennies and not worth an investor funding. So, I would just think about how to do that. I would also say one additional aspect of that, customer acquisition cost is oftentimes one of the most expensive parts of especially consumer business. And so one of the reasons that subscription took off so much is because you don't have to retarget someone who is paying you a subscription. And so even though a subscription may be too much, if, for example, you have multiple things that someone who has already engaged with you is interested in doing, then you're making money without having to add necessarily an additional advertising cost, or at least a much smaller one.
Yeah, and one something that came up in our discussion too, an important question to think about is, is this a viable small business, right? Can you make, $10,000, $100,000, or is this something you want to be a venture-backed business? And if so, I think, right, in your pitches, it's so important to think about, right, that monetization model, your roadmap, and how things scale with that.
Oh, absolutely. The thing is that all three of us here have an experience with like scale. One of us literally works at a company called Scale AI. And, there are different kinds of businesses out there, right? There are smaller businesses, and that's totally fine. You just need to really, just make sure that you're aligning how you're running your business with what you expect the scale of it to be.
Awesome. That was decades of experience packed into just a couple of minutes. So I hope that you took this to heart. And I want to thank Evan, Lauren, and Christine for being here. For some of them, they have to take time away from their jobs, their families, their vacations to be here. So everyone, I want to put in the chat just like an applause to the judges for being here. They've been here many, many years already, and every time they come here and do an amazing job of being here for you. Like they're not like their time is in the hundreds and hundreds of dollars per hour, and there's no way that we can ever repay their time here. So thank you, judges, for being here once again to be here for the students and literally break their bubble and being the first push into real world. Thank you very much, Kristen, Lauren, and Evan. Everyone say bye to Kristen, Lauren, and Evan.
Bye. Thank you.
Now,
Thanks for having us.
no, thank you. I want to talk a little bit about another group of people that are here, taking time away from their jobs, their vacations, in crazy time zones as well, and that is the mentors. The mentors here at LinkApp are really what LinkApp is all about. It's the secret sauce of LinkApp. In no other program, I really want to make this clear, in no other program in the world, you will find a group like this. Because these people are entrepreneurs in the real world, are marketers in the real world, are engineers in the real world, are psychotherapists in the real world, designers in the real world, developers in the real world. We don't have college students just here doing like some camp monitoring, or we don't have academic professors, we don't have teachers doing summer work. We don't have any of that. This is the secret sauce of LinkApp. People that have walked the path already that the students are embarking on. Real entrepreneurs that have successes, failures, and a lot in between. And just as this is like our strongest point, it's also our weakness. This is also why we can't scale fully and have like LinkApp Tokyo, LinkApp London, LinkApp blah, blah, blah running at the same time. Because it's really hard to find people like this and be like, hey, can you take 1 month off of your life and be here for these students that you've never met? It's really hard to find that. And yet they open their hearts and their time to be here for our students. So I want to ask for also a round of applause, some thank yous in the chat for the mentors, because they stayed, to 2 a.m., 3 a.m. with the students practicing. So all of the people here are really the foundation of LinkApp. You are LinkApp mentors, and I hope that you know that. Now, 2024 is over, 2025 is around the corner. I suggest, something crazy happened this year. We have people already paying for 2025. That has never happened before. It really shows that there's a demand for something like LinkApp, especially in these days. So I really recommend you that if you have friends, family members that want to attend, they should apply soon. Okay, put their go to the website and leave their email on the wait list, so that when we open application in September, they are the first ones to be in the line, and they don't stay in the wait list as many people stayed this year, because we can't take more than 40 students per cohort. Now, I recommend that if you want to join the San Francisco students as well as the online students that just passed, You follow their journey on the LinkUp Instagram account. That's where everything really happens. You know, we share a lot of their experiences, their failures, their lessons, and we're gonna do, like we just did that with the online program, we're gonna do that with the San Francisco program that happens in just a couple of days. Thank you very much for being part of the LinkUp family. I really hope that you enjoyed this event. It took a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, tears of not just the students, but also the mentors. And I want you to know that these students pour their heart and souls into this, and I hope that you enjoyed it. There's a lot more to come from them. This is just the beginning of their story as an entrepreneur. So thank you very much for being here, and see you next year.